Keep it here. Uh, this meeting is being recorded. What else can I do here? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good middle of the night for some of you, Lorena. Uh, let's see, got it. Um, here we go again. Sorry we had to miss a few weeks. And while I'm thinking of it, we're going to miss next week because it's a holiday week, a long holiday weekend if you count Thursday extending to the weekend next weekend in the U.S. Um, hopefully, any problems we had with not having the right link or something that others might join us, but I don't know. Did you stick a new link up there, Dan?
I have stuck a new link everywhere, and I am responding to Helen just said, "Hey, I can't get through," so I just put a new link on for her. So I'll keep monitoring Facebook.
We'll keep linking, huh? um, so, so you say next week we won't be meeting. We do have a program for the week after, and I've got to admit that my 2 weeks off turned my mind off too. So I didn't really have anybody here to present this week. So I thought we'd have some fun with something that a term that I didn't learn until the last 3 or 4 or 5 years is flow modules. We've always heard of zeros, we've heard of equivalents, um, but the site caller, and repeating my thoughts on site, there are three parts. One is memorizing who started with whom. That's the first one. The third one is resolving. That's recalling that first part and moving everybody back to where they should be. Um, and that's what the resolving is, I think, what most people think of as site calling. But the real part of it is right in the middle between those two. It's the meat of the sandwich, or the pickles, lettuce, and tomato if you're a vegan. Uh, but it's letting people dance. It's the majority of each sequence, or it should be. And it should be good, smooth, flowing choreography that's interesting, not too difficult, and flows well and timed well and all that other stuff. Um, and that's those little segments that you remember to put together. Swing Through, Boys Run, Ferris Wheel is um, it's a flow module basically. Daryl, you were talking earlier about singing call figures. A lot of the standard singing call figures are flow modules that people use. They happen to fit the music nicely also. Um, and I've got one favorite one that I really like. And then when I decided to do this session, I created new favorites or things that I usually call together but never really thought about as such. But I'm hoping you guys have brought some to share. I was planning to have Taminations dance them through for us, and if you want to have your one you're sharing critique, we can start by letting Taminations look whether it's critiqued or not. I'm hoping that sometimes my computer's not fast enough, and my upload speed, so Taminations is staggery, but I'm hoping that it works well enough today. So it looks like, Dan, you're letting me share a screen. Um,
I am trying to be ahead of the game this morning. Not terribly
wow.
good at it, but
So I assume you can see my friends here, our friends, and I'll start typing and see how bad it is. I I've first of all, I'm going to hide the identification because we're not going to try to resolve. We're not memorizing who started with whom. We're just watching the flow of things. And I've originally was just highlighting one person. So if you wanted to follow or focus where things are going, I did that. But I also decided I'd highlight a woman also. Um,
Good.
and
there's a history here, isn't there?
Yes.
because I know Yolanda would be with us, right? No, it's well because we really have to pay attention to what the women are doing also. Um, I just opened it up so I can see your faces better, and I'm covering up my examples here. Not that I didn't memorize them. Um, so the first one is something that usually starts in lines, and I'm going to start with a head square through 4. Is it going smoothly on your screen? It is on mine. And a
It's
slide
looks
through.
a little bit jerky here, but I think, oh yeah, that's what, yeah, it's okay. I
Okay.
think.
um, one of the things that I like is chain down the line from left-handed waves, um, because one is the guy's got his left hand in there to courtesy turn, and two is it takes people by surprise, but they do it and what have you. Well, it doesn't take them by surprise that much, but it's not the common way. And so I'm gonna uh, let me just I'm gonna type this in. No, I'm gonna paste it in. Um, and let it dance, and then we'll go talk about it. So it's a right and left through into a Dixie style to a wave. Men start a swing through, sets up that chain down the line, and follow it through with a continuous flutter wheel. Um, one of the things I like to do is let's see the path this guy went. It's sort of all over the place, which is cool. Hers is pretty good. This is a 2-couple call. Hers is pretty good, and his is decent. Um, let's look at the whole thing again and see if Tam Nations can and my internet can smooth it out. But starting here with a right and left through, courtesy turn ladies into the center with that Dixie style to wave, men right in there with a swing through, chain down line from there. And I just like after that courtesy turn to throw a flutter wheel in. I have no idea. I didn't follow whether a slide through is going to resolve it or not. Yeah,
Looks to me like it does.
it does.
Yep.
um, so, anybody have any comments about that? Do you use that? Am I thinking it's great for myself or not others? Any parts of it you question?
Well, one of the things I miss in SSD is Dixie style to a wave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that with a right and left through, you can, as the beginning to that, you can say right and left through, turn a quarter more, girls meet, girls trade, girls run.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to get around the, right, yeah. And it looks like it flows nicely to me.
Um, so what were you doing? Right and left through,
Uh,
and
turn a quarter more, which,
and,
I don't know if Nations will do this easily, but it's just a sub for Dixie style
and then
to
what?
uh right and left through and a quarter more, girls meet, girls trade, girls run,
Girls
which
trade, girls run.
is, not quite technically Dixie style, but it has
No,
the
it's
same
a
effect.
nice equivalent. Swing through, um, chain down the line, flutter wheel,
Yeah.
and slide through because we know it's going to go to the corner. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So let's uh, dance the whole thing. See how it goes with your cool equivalent there. Quarter more, ladies trade, ladies run, men start a swing through, chain down the line, flutter wheel and slide through, not totally necessary, but. And let's look at our He's done some interesting stuff. She's done some interesting stuff. He has. She has. And of course, symmetry, so have the other guys. I like that, Dan. You know what? We should have some. I was sort of counting on Mel being here because he types all these things in and puts them in the notes. So grab what you want out of it, guys, or watch the video afterwards. Any other thoughts, Daryl? I'm sure you have 2 cents worth to add.
I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. There, there's actually modules, separate modules within everything that you're doing there, and that's a point that might be made for the newer callers. You know, the idea of changing the slide through, right and left through Dixie style to an ocean wave, to the right and left through a quarter more girls trade girls run. That makes modules out of everything, and everything that a site resolution caller uses is modules. So that might be interesting to separate within the thinking pattern, those type of things.
Yolanda?
I was in another discussion and somebody was saying that if you do a right and left through, you can't do a sweep a quarter more. Is there a way of doing this and getting out of that particular, is there an equivalent?
You're
Turn
looking
a
for
quarter more is different
It's
from sweep
different
a quarter
from
more.
from a quarter more? That's what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah, the quarter more is not sweeping a quarter, not circling left or
Okay.
right.
So that's how you
It's
can get out of your sweep a quarter
this
rule then. I was just wondering.
except the sweep a quarter ends in facing couples, and this is in turn your courtesy turn a quarter more.
Oh,
So
okay,
that
that's
it ends in 2 face lines.
okay. That is okay.
And
I was missing that piece.
when sweep a quarter came out, people used to think, gee, it makes sense that should work after a right and left through. And then they started dancing it, and it just didn't.
Okay.
So that was good advice to do. But this quarter more is not sweep a quarter, but turn the courtesy turn a quarter more. Did you want to see
Okay.
that part happening?
Sure.
Um,
Because I was in my head, I was doing sweep a quarter, and so there's a difference.
Watch these 2 guys here doing the right and left through, right pull by and courtesy. Whoops.
I'm going to follow the girls. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back to where we were.
Sure.
Let's see if I can. Okay, so here's. I guess I didn't do it right. Okay, here's the right and left through with the courtesy turn. Now we're not going to sweep a quarter, but we're going to courtesy turn a quarter more to make a 2 face line.
Okay.
And then we did a ladies trade, a ladies run, swing through starting with the right, chain down the line starting with the right, etc.
Okay.
Etc.
Anybody? Dan, can I, Don, can I make a comment?
Definitely, Helen.
I was thinking it's quite easy for you to put this in the chat. If you just hit the copy button, you will have all the calls in your mouse, and then you can just put it into the chat. It's very simple.
Why don't I do that?
That beats the heck out of me transcribing it, which I was doing, especially since I've got to leave a little early today.
Okay. Chat. Put it here. That's a good idea, Helen. Thank you. Okay, so this particular sequence is in. Of course, that's covering up all your faces. Let's go back to the original one I did with the Dixie style.
Could I mention something?
You may.
I was talking about the modules within the modules, or within that whole traffic pattern there.
Yeah.
It occurs to me that whatever brings you to a slide through. For those of you that work with your head, everything up to that point, particularly from the corner box situation, puts you into the same place you'd be if from that corner box you did a swing through and the boys run.
Mm-hmm.
That's a positioning thing that tends to be useful, because that swing through boys run from a corner box is a very key position, key phaser as such, to doing so many other things that if you're going to do it in your head, puts you into traffic that becomes, does that make any sense to you at all? In other words, it starts with that corner box. And from there, you do that slide through, right and left through Dixie style to a wave, swing through and chain down the line. That's the same as head square through four, swing through boys run, chain down the line. But the point of it is where that boys run comes in is the same as the swing through boys run or whatever.
So, what I'm trying to do here is not go with zeros and equivalents that we're
okay.
that we're
the fact that they're
just doing the flow module part of it. And what you're pointing out is great, is we can recognize that we can put that flow module in a different place. Because
good for you. I'll shut up.
No, but I realize that I'm putting too much here. The real flow module that I really like part of this is, where are we here? Dixie style to a wave, swing through, chain down the line. That's the flow module part that I like. I set it up with a right and left through. I like a flutter wheel afterwards, but the flow module that really is the meat of this thing is the Dixie style to a wave, swing through, chain down the line. And I guess I didn't make that part clear. And again, that can be used from any place you have facing couples if you do something nice with it. But yeah, it's great that we can squeeze in and show where these are specifically. Does anyone else have another one to share before I make a mess and waste your time with some of mine?
Here's one that I would never. Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's one that I would never have thought of until SSD, because I never really used wheel around other than for setting up in a Sicilian circle and resolving out of sequence promenade, of course. But just the heads pass through wheel around into a flutter wheel.
Heads pass through, heads, wheel around, flutter wheel. Let's go that far. Whoops, I gotta say heads, flutter wheel. Oh, so that little module is a lady's chain. Let's dance it through.
Now, don't be telling me that it equals anything, because that's against the rules.
You're right. But that flows nicely. I like that. I want to look at it one more time. So the wheel around and the lady's coming around with a right hand in. Yes, very nice.
And of course, for those who might be interested in the module in a singing call, it might be nice to have that sweep a quarter that Yolanda wanted, and then a pass through for your corner box.
So I want to undo the flutter wheel and put a flutter wheel and sweep a quarter. Centers, flutter wheel, and sweep a quarter. Pardon my abbreviations. And get them to the corner. Let's dance that whole thing and take a look at it.
We're probably half out on that sequence. Might have to have a right and left through first.
I did a square through 3/4, Daryl. Just site calling my people here. What's his name? The guy that does terminations. My name, my blank. Brady.
Brad Christie.
Brad Christie. Has nicely put in keyboard commands so you can show identity and hide identity. And that's saved me a lot of time. I put my shortcut for it, but it saves me going around and poking on things over here. So it's a relatively new feature if it's something you want. I've put the abbreviation HID, hide identification, or show ID, which is really pretty helpful for me. Again, thank you, Brad, for all you've done for all of us. So that actually, Daryl, I want to try something here. Go home, head square through 4, slide through, and let's use your module from here instead of the other way. So it's a pass through, wheel around. You can tell I don't use that very often either, so I don't have an abbreviation for it. Wheel around and flutter wheel. Let's do the sweep a quarter. Yeah, that's a good one. I noticed when I've been in Europe that they use wheel around a lot more than we do, and use it effectively. And maybe SSD is a good cause for us to add that nicely to the mix. Anyone else got something?
Oh, remember you're going to copy and paste these, right?
I was, yeah. But, oh,
Okay,
so
just for future.
Heads pass through, heads wheel around, and flutter wheel.
Don, you might try WA as an abbreviation for wheel around. See if it works with yours.
I will in a second. So, copy, chat, paste. Yolanda, you may have to remind me about 27 more times, but thank you.
That's okay.
So let's see. Heads pass through. WA. Notice I didn't write heads a wheel around, so everybody did. But yes, that's a nice abbreviation. Thank you. Trade by.
Thank Mark Hart for that.
Heads separate around one to a line. Everybody go home. Thank you, Mark.
What did I do?
I don't know. Daryl just said to thank you.
Yeah,
For
thank
having
you. That's where I got that abbreviation in any case.
For having Brad or noticing that WA is a good abbreviation for wheel around. Any other want to volunteer some good flow modules? All right, it means it's time for me to do one again. I'm looking at my abbreviations and I don't remember what this. Oh, I remember. Oh, okay. So let's go to head square through 4. This is just a setup again. And I'm going to do a touch a quarter walk and dodge from here. And as people generally say, but the ladies have to bounce over and bounce back. Is there something better we can do? And one of the students in one of my mental image classes did something and wanted to know what it did mental image wise, and I didn't know that, but as a flow module, it's really good. Let's, what are we going to do? Paste that in. So we're going to touch a quarter, walk and dodge, and the girls just stay in place while the boys trade. Let's watch it again. Just setting up with a head square through, the typical thing. Touch a quarter, walk and dodge, but the girls don't have to bounce back with the boys trade. And there's lots of stuff you can do from there. But you have to be aware that it's left-handed waves and all that other stuff. Geez, I wonder, I just had an interesting thought. If we somehow had heads pair off and everybody half sachet, if I did touch a quarter from here, touch a quarter from here. Pardon my slow thinking here. Oh, that's right, we're doing walk and dodge. This time it'll be girls trade. And if I do a single hinge from here, I can do a chain down the line. Getting in that left-handed wave chain down the line that I wanted. Of course, you got to figure out how to set them up to get that half sachet. Anybody got a good way to set things up for a half sachet? I do. Any favorite way of getting out of half sachets?
I always fall back on tag the lines, but
Oh, the one I use frequently is gets them in and out and is sex independent is swing through recycle. Head square through 4, swing through, recycle. And now we can do the thing I was just talking about. I'm doing it over again so that we can copy and paste it for Yolanda. No, for everybody. Touch a quarter, walk and dodge, girls trade, hinge, chain down the line. So let's see what this guy's path was. Not bad. Ladies, even better. His not too bad. Hers even better. I like it. Oh, copy and paste. Copy. Open chats. Paste that in. Good, I've learned something. Even if I've partly only taught myself. Anybody else got any ideas? You're making...
This is a good topic because this is something I'm not very good at yet.
Well, I think it's a good topic, but it's only you and me talking back and forth. I want others. It's funny. I had that one flow module I really like, and talking to Gail last night, my wife, she said, "Well, you should have at least 6 prepared." And they were supposed to be favorite flow modules, but I've come up with a bunch that they're not favorites. What am I trying to say?
so I've got a couple of the obvious newbie caller mistake
Yeah.
is calling the right flutter wheel or reverse flutter wheel after a bend the line from right or or left-handed two-faced lines.
Okay.
And then, obviously calling the correct one works really nicely, but I just remember doing a lot of that. But that kind of leads to, does anybody have other good ways to get things that might lead into a veer? Because obviously a right and left through veer left kind of works okay. A square through 4 veer left feels a little funky. Leads and veers work nicely. But all of you who've been calling longer than I have good ways to get into veers.
Circle 4 halfway.
Oh, yes. Okay, good.
Pretty much anything you can do is sweep a quarter after. Flutter wheel, recycle, right and left through, which you can't do a sweep a quarter after. That I had just I had just copied and pasted until you came up with something, and it looks like it has a bunch of veers in it. So let's look at it. A veer left after a lead right, chain down the line, do a flutter wheel, and sweep a quarter, veer left, Ferris wheel, centers veer left, veer right, everybody veer right, wheel and deal. I like to use on occasion that the veer left, veer right instead of a pass through, and then follow with another veer right to get out the two-face lines.
And the wheel around aforementioned also works.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an outgrowth. The flutter wheel is probably an outgrowth of that call.
Right.
So I like lead right, veer left a lot. And so that was part of the flow module. I start too many sequences that way.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ferris wheel centers veer left, veer right, everybody veer right. Wheel and deal just for laughs.
Copy and paste that into the chat if you would, please.
Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Dan.
Her hair is longer than mine. That's how you can tell us apart.
By an infinite amount, yeah.
Can I just say that Daryl, I like what you gave us, that very simple circle 4 halfway, because as I only call basic, and at the moment I still only have 30 calls to use because we go very slow in Sweden. That kind of a suggestion is really useful to me because lots of these calls I don't have yet for my students. So thank you so much.
We usually, just a second, Daryl. We usually try to keep things to mainstream and below, but I thought this time we'd have plus just added, but I'm glad you were able to pull that out. I just wanted to look at what the flow on these people is. It seems to take them all over nicely. And this guy, bang. Daryl, what were you going to say?
What I was going to say is, I'm not going to give you a module, but it might be kind of neat to do a couple circulate and veer right or left accordingly and do a U-turn back into a right and left grand.
That sounds cool.
That's not a module. It's a flow module.
Four ladies chain 3/4. I'm setting it up specifically. So we're going to do a heads. Here's your flow module. Heads, square through, swing through. That sets up your two-face lines. And boys run. That sets up your two-face lines even better. So we're going to do a couple circulate, a veer right, and then a U-turn back.
Okay.
And I'm going to follow that with a wrong way grand. just because I set that up. But let's watch the couple circulate, veer right, you turn back thing that Daryl had here.
Now
'Cause I couldn't.
that U-turn back has the flow, unless otherwise dictated by flow overriding clause, right?
Yeah. So why is it not doing the couple? Oh, because I forgot to push return. Couple circulate, veer right, and U-turn back. And then wrong way grand. Are they not facing partners? Show ID.
It's not a wrong way grand, is it?
Oh, it's an odd. You're right. We have to do a half sachet. And now a wrong way grand. Yeah, I didn't follow that correctly. Chris, that's interesting. Thing that you noted was that you turn back, you can turn any way you want, but the convention is you turn towards your partner unless body flow sends you a different way. And body flow.
I'm not sure that all the dancers, in this case, of course, it doesn't matter because the next call is right and left grand. But if the next call was roll, I'm not sure what I would expect the dancers to do.
Well, the thing is, do what's comfortable to you, and that should be normally towards your partner, but the other way. But in this case, turning a given direction, not towards your partner, is the correct way to dance it. But Taminations did it towards your partner.
Yeah, I noticed it, but I thought it looked like it was doing there. Yeah.
So let's try heads.
Yeah, that's because the Taminations has them doing the movements at the end of each sequence rather than with the body flow. I don't know what the flow would be on a veer right though. Is that a right hand turn or is that towards your partner? That's the question.
It's the in-depth problem.
Well, it would be veer right and turn towards your partner, basically a turn and deal, but
which is bad flow.
Anyway, let's just do the flow module that Daryl was saying. So I'm going to do heads lead left, heads lead right, veer left, couple circulate, veer right, and then a U-turn back. So a quick, get them into two-face lines, circulate, and veer right. I guess it's not quite a turn and well, it's not quite a turn and deal, but the ending is the same. I like the couple circulate veer right kind of thing, throwing that in between just a straight veer right. Anyone else? We got more people joining us. We should have more opinions.
I just came from the Collar Lab basic and mainstream meeting, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Started half an hour before you.
That's where you were, Mel. All right.
Oh yeah, Mel was there.
I knew you were someplace, but I couldn't remember where.
They're going to have emphasis calls coming out soon. I don't know what they are going to be.
Oh, really?
Okay. Chris, explain the term, please.
So the exact schedule, I don't think has been totally determined yet, but it's probably once a quarter, and it's probably just either mainstream or, is it
SSD, I'll bet.
Both.
Yeah. Anyway, so they'll have a call that's on the list, and it'll come with a reiteration of what the definition is and everything, and a bunch of sample choreography to try out. It'll be not weirdo choreography or tricky choreography, just good choreography. And the idea is to is just a suggestion for everybody to play around and dance that call a lot, because it's a call that maybe nobody ever calls it half sachet, or maybe nobody just plain never calls it. And, you know, just to kind of bring it back to the memory of the dancers.
Is that like a quarterly selection?
Well,
No,
That's what I was
Quarterly
thinking.
selection was the same idea, except quarterly selection calls were experimental calls that were not on any other list. But this is calls from the list.
yeah, so background was that, yeah, we used to have quarterly selections when lots of new stuff was coming out, and they said, well, let's just focus on one or two. Here's the one we're going to focus on for these 3 months, and you play with it, and we'll decide what we're going to do with it. And then when they decided the flow, to curb the flow of new stuff, or because it was slowing down, they decided, well, let's do a similar thing with a call off the list. Let's emphasize this one, this particular quarter. Here's something that if we all play with, maybe it'll give you all an idea of this is what we'll focus on and work with and play with. And the thought they're bringing it back is probably a good idea. Just, you know, if you haven't thought about using sweep a quarter, well, let's play with it. Daryl?
Having been the chairperson of that quarterly selection committee, I'd like to share this with you. It's got nothing to do with your flow patterns. These were movements that came from the quarterly selections.
Oh,
Recycle, walk and dodge, coordinate, half tag, trade and roll, transfer the column, Ferris wheel, pass the ocean. Now, some of these are in the advanced or challenge program today. Chase right, track two, anything and roll, touch a quarter, touch 3/4, extend the tag, crossfire, follow your neighbor, trade the wave, ping pong circulate, well, grand weave, which I don't remember particularly, but and others, linear cycle. The point being, whatever they do in this committee, they're talking about it. They're designing it after the quarterly selection process. This could be very dangerous. They definitely, one of the biggest problems we have today, actually, in my opinion, mind you, is the fact that we have plus program. And practically all of that plus program came out of material that was part of the quarterly selection program. And it just blew everything up.
Yeah, but they're not going to be doing any calls. It's just going to be calls like pass the ocean and sweep a quarter.
I said we're going to have to be very careful.
yeah, that is the whole point. Oh, sorry, Daryl, go ahead. You're skipping, Daryl. I'll cut you off.
I'm getting cut off.
No, sorry, your voice, I thought you were finished. I cut you off. You just froze on my computer.
I'm sorry.
I missed what you said at the end.
What I said is these things can get out of hand very easily. And what happened there, the history of that thing is the fact that people were not willing to give it up. Now, and that's in the case of both the callers and the dancers. So if you start coming up with too many different ways to get into and out of a half sachet, then that just deepens the experience level. And now, if you can limit the applications somehow, you can probably bypass that. All I'm saying is be very, very careful in that committee.
Yeah, what the emphasis is on that, and Mickey's there, he's the vice chair of it, was essentially we're looking at the movements on the program, and that's all the movements on the basic and all the movements on the mainstream list. And every 3 months, they're probably going to pick a movement and they're going to start putting out some choreography that deals with that movement so that you can start using it and it gets more emphasis in the community. When was the last time people called, no pun, but pass the ocean from all boys or pass the ocean from all girls or pass the ocean half sachet? It's just putting that out.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep. And that it's us. Yeah, Daryl. Yeah, 1 second, Daryl. the idea is to have your standard applications and nominal stuff so that the emphasis being on smooth dancing, proper use without going wild. And that's why guys like Mickey and whatnot that are on the chair are there to put all those submissions together to say, let's put the emphasis back on using these movements properly, smoothly, and flowing without getting wild. It's not, well, that's what the intent is anyway.
Time out. I've been through this before. I fought like crazy against establishing the plus level. You're talking about extending the applications of what we already have.
No, that's not what I said.
No, we're
That's
not.
not what I said.
You said pass the ocean for all boy
No,
waves.
what you're picking words. What I'm saying is, yeah, sorry, you misunderstood me. What I'm saying is the idea of the emphasis call is to get these calls out to stress and emphasize smooth and proper use and dancing without hyperextending or taking them wild and weird, but get them back into the dance vernacular from standard, maybe a little bit of extended, but not wild and technically insane.
Okay, I'm sorry, Don. I didn't mean to get off on a tirade here on your program. I will do my fighting on this at the Collar Lab level, but I'm dead set against it just from what you said. Mel, I'm sorry, but I will back out once again.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
For the good of the order, Don, I want you to check where you sent those last two chats to. Make sure you sent them to everybody. I think you just sent them to me.
Oh no. Is that right?
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, 'cause
I haven't got anything from you.
Oh no. Well,
So copy and paste them from the chat to the chat.
There you go.
I will try to figure out how to do that in just a second. Daryl, you sort of took us off from the subject, and I'm going to take you further off. Further off in a direction just as a point of history and basically personal history, but you named calls that had been quarterly selections and eventually got onto one of the accepted lists, and you didn't mention Chain Down the Line. And the deal on the quarterly selections was if it shouldn't stay on for more than 3 quarters, you know, after you've had 3 quarters of a year to test a call, you either vote it onto one of the main lists or you just ignore it and it goes away. And Chain Down the Line had been used an awful lot. And when it came time to adding things to the list, everybody said, no, we don't want anything new on the mainstream list. And this was at a Wednesday morning roundup session meeting of Collar Lab. And at that point, Jack Lastry stood up and he said, look it, guys, you don't want to have this on, but everybody's using Chain Down the Line and you know they will continue to use it. Be serious, take a vote again. And so Chain Down the Line got put on the list. As I say, a personal note too, because I remember thanking Jack for that, in my mind anyway, because it's an ego trip for me to have some of my calls on the mainstream list.
That's not the only call of yours that's on there. Or
well, the other two you mentioned already. So I interrupted because somebody was saying something. Oh, copy and paste to the clipboard. Let me just throw this one additional sequence in because this is sort of on topic, off topic intentionally. From head square through and step to a wave, a corner box wave. We're going to watch the active man, and we're featuring the call cast 3 quarters here. We did a swing through, cast 3 quarters, split circulate, another cast 3 quarters, and a scoot back. And if we look at his path, it's not too bad. If we look at his path, it's not too bad. But when we talk about good flow, you've probably heard the term overflow, which I believe Clark introduced way back when, Clark Lowe. Look at what this poor lady did. She did a little bit of overflow. We were watching the guy and saw some good movement, and we didn't pay attention to what this poor, she wasn't doing much better. Whoops, there we go. But she went crazy here. Let me go back and
Actually, I think the guy you've highlighted
That was
has
overflow.
overflow in the sense that he's almost always doing rightward turns, except
Well-
for his left half by the left on the swing through.
plus
After
they're
that,
straight,
it's always straight or right.
but it's straight ahead too. The scoot back is not as much as the cast.
I understand, but he's straight and he's right and he's straight and he's right. He's not doing any lefts other than at the very beginning.
Yeah, I would call it a kind of a sequential overflow.
Yeah.
Let's go back to putting her as blue, and let's change this lady to something else. So I didn't want to do this one, but let's just watch. This is the one that goes round and round in circles. Watch what this poor lady does.
Yeah.
No.
Ice Princess.
Yeah.
Not good.
I'm just curious if, of course, I don't know with the delays you guys have, but if we dance it fast, does she get to really spin in? Gonna wear a hole in my screen. Anyway, so as I try to say, beware of everybody. That's why I was clicking the men and women as well. Let's put her back to her default color. Let's put her back to her default color for those that are following the women. Let's copy this sequence, put it in the chat. Where's the chat? Make sure it's not going to Keith, but everybody. And let's type in overflow. No, that's overlow. Okay. So I'm going to leave that up to remind me to try and paste everything in. Whoops. Oh, geez, I just opened the whole thing. Can I? All right, let me close that. I'm getting there, guys. Message to everybody. I just I'm having trouble posting it in.
You're doing good. You've posted the overflow and Mel's added a comment to it. So far you've done what you
I
wanted.
put overflow at the no, I was trying to copy all the previous ones and put them in the overflow, and that didn't work. The time has zipped by much more quickly than expected, which is kind of cool. What was I going to do here?
I have a comment, just pairwise call combinations that feel good.
Good.
Just get to lines facing.
Okay, make lines. Make a line. I wanted partner lines with the actives on the left, but that's
okay. Well, the good thing is I wanted a right and left through as part of it. So you've done the right and left through.
Okay.
Roll away.
I don't know if it does roll away or not. You want roll away instead of half sachet.
Well, we can talk about the different feel, the kinesthetic feel of both of these, but yep. And then Dixie style. So the right and left through sets up flow for either half sachet or roll away.
Mhm.
And the hand exchange and the transfer of connection lets the lady kind of pull the guy into the Dixie style, and you have good energy there. So the roll away in the Dixie style feels particularly good for the guy as she kind of slingshots him in, if people can see what I'm saying.
And of course, I see that and right away think of left hand waves with ladies in the middle chained down the line.
Correct. Right. And you know that another one that's a kind of a flow module is right left through Dixie style centers, and then chain down the line.
Well, we started out with that one, Clark, with a swing
Good.
through voice start, chain down the line.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, I'm going to copy this one and chat to everybody. Paste. Okay, we got that one in.
And by the same token, simply a flutter wheel, and normally you'd precede that with a right and left through to build up some energy. So right, left through, flutter wheel. After the flutter wheel, reverse Dixie feels good because again, the energy from the flutter wheel can slingshot the left side dancer, into the reverse Dixie. Or if we don't want to use reverse Dixie style, we want to use reverse flutter wheel somewhere into a Dixie style.
And assuming those were emphasis calls, I don't use reverse Dixie very often or at all, or Dixie style from a half sashayed couple. I guess I just don't trust the dancers enough, which is bad on me. But if you set it up with the half sat roll away like you did, that has the guys going in with the right pretty much, and sets that up nicely. Any other favorite flow modules? Favorite overflow modules? Well, in that case, I'm going to show another one. Assuming we're in a corner box or any kind of a box and half sashayed, this is another call. Two calls for unhalf sashaying them is turn through and a courtesy turn. Turn through, courtesy turn. I bet you there's an abbreviation for that, but
Turn and left through.
And that used to have a name. It's called turn and left through. But for some reason, it was very nice flow, the turn and left through. Turn through followed by a courtesy turn. And people decided that historically, you can call that through without giving it a name. Just call turn through courtesy turn. And therefore nobody did, and the nice flow module was dropped. But it does flow, and we'll look at it for a second from lines too. But
I call turn and left through directionally sometimes.
Well, it should be. It's nice. Let's go home. Heads square through 2. Let's get them to the other side. Slide through. I want them half sashayed. I'm going to use Dan's method. Pass through. Tag the line right. Now they're half sashayed. And now I'm going to do a turn and left through. Whoops.
I think you're confused. You want tag the line in.
I am confused. Pass through. Tag the line in.
By the way, Daryl mentioned a good flow module, half tag, trade, and roll.
Mm-hmm.
I find it harder to get people through that nowadays than
because
in
you
the
have
old days when it was a thing.
because you have to specify who's trading. You could say half tag hinge to roll. Anyway, from here, turning left through is the right pull by and courtesy turn. I mean, right turn through and courtesy turn. It's a nice thing, and I will paste that.
One of the nice things about modules like this is you see these very, very much in callers that only call basic and only call mainstream, because they use the program and they find these callers that call at the higher levels or have all that material available to them tend to ignore very simple basic flow modules at basic level dances like turn through, courtesy turn. Very,
Hey,
very common.
If you stick a half sachet on that flow module, you have a really nice zero.
And yeah, the half sachet would flow very nicely after the courtesy turn.
Can
Yeah.
you get me an 8 chain? Like square through 4 or something? Good. Yep. Left touch a quarter. Maybe you need some flow before that, but walk and dodge. Wheel around.
Ooh, nice.
So the walk and dodge sets up the flow for wheel around. And then the wheel around gives you great flow for either Dixie style flutter wheel or where you want to go next. But I'm going to give you a different, or ladies chain, yes. But let me give you a different idea on that same one. The problem with what I just described there is the left touch a quarter, which is going to be unusual, correct? So let's just, I don't know, as long as you want to continue the sequence. Okay, again, get them set up with an 8 heads pair off or whatever you want to do.
I'm going to get their left hand ready for you.
Well, you had to do a left square through, which they aren't happy with.
Right.
So instead, we normally would do, let's pretend you hadn't done the left square through, but it's normal hands, do a touch a quarter. So we're going to do walk and dodge, and then I'm going to give you 2 interesting alternatives. From here, you can do reverse wheel around, which flows, but is less common because it's well, I mean, wheel around isn't that common, but if wheel around's not common, then reverse wheel around's even less common. So you ready for the thing you aren't expecting?
I think it was maybe the second flow module we did before you got here. What's that, Clark?
Centers wheel around.
Oh, that we didn't do. We did a boys trade from here before.
Do you see why centers wheel around works?
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I wonder if we just called, I think reverse wheel around is too many words. And I wonder, and because I would like to use it, but, you know, like you mentioned, nobody uses it. But I wonder if we just called it, called it as reverse wheel, if that would make it more palatable.
My experience is that if you call a reverse wheel around, that the dancers will try to go the opposite way to the body flow. And while it may be incorrect, if you just call a wheel around, they'll do it the way you want them to with the body flow. But as soon as they hear that word reverse, they will try to counteract the body flow that you've actually set up.
Maybe we should call it reverse wheel.
Maybe we should just take it and make it a concept like sweep a quarter and go in direction of body flow.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. I tried to write up or you know, tried to figure out a call one time that I was tentatively calling that wheel that would do that, but I wanted it to I had some wheel and deal situation where they were going in different directions and I wanted it to work out magically. I couldn't quite figure out how to say it.
One of the bad things about making it a concept is that you'd have to change existing things and everybody would go crazy. But one of the good things about it is, as Lorena pointed out, dancers are doing it that way anyway.
Yeah, wheel around and reverse wheel around are used an awful lot over here in Australia. They're very, very common both ways. In a lot of places, they're not uncommon. I was just curious, Clark, you mentioned doing a wheel around after a walk and dodge, having the centers wheel around.
Yes.
I would find that quite awkward for the lady because she has to dodge sideways and then back up to do the wheel around to maintain that center position. Do you not find that just a bit awkward for her? Because she has to dodge over to the right and then back up to do the wheel around.
What happens in the left touch a quarter walk and dodge wheel around case for the lady?
Yeah, but I was talking about when you do the centers wheel around.
I understand, but what isn't it the same thing happening in the other case or not really?
Yeah, except when you're working on the outside, it becomes more of a pivot. I know it shouldn't. It's just there's that. It's just the tightness on that. That is something that your dancers will have to be very familiar with wheel around.
Yeah, well, I guess, I mean, the thing is try it and see. You're right. I'm relying on the walker to have the momentum to cause the center two to be able to wheel in the right direction, etc. And you can see whether it feels bad to the other person or not. Yeah.
And
I don't think I don't think that the lady has a conflicting flow. It doesn't seem to me like it ought to be any harder than any other thing where
no, it's not. But when you're walking and your outside dancer is the pivot, that wheel will actually concurrently flow because it's sort of like a truncated cast off 3/4 in such, you know, or cast off a half. But if you're doing the dodge and then you're doing the wheel around in the center, it's got it because you've got goalposts that you don't want to hit. The other thing I noted is when you're setting up that left-hand flow, that's the ideal setup on that for me would have the heads do a left touch a quarter. You've only got the heads active. There's no real conflict, and then have the girls run. That's easy to do. They've set it up for success because they do that. Following that with another left touch a quarter into your walk and dodge is a logical progression that it's hard to fail with.
Yeah, I like that.
I just put in Clark's thing again so we can just watch the flow. At about 8 minutes ago, Clark usually reminds me that the hour is up, and thank you guys for coming. Again, just wind up remarks and then continue on with the conversation. I have a slightly different thing I wanted to bring up, but sorry we missed the last 2 weeks. We're going to miss next week again because of the Thanksgiving weekend in the U.S. We have a program set up for the week after that, and with a new presenter, and I'm going to have to work it, coming up with some for after that again. Dan had to leave at about 10 of. He nicely bowed out and left me in control, I guess. I thank you guys for either contributing or researching, as we in the calling business call stealing material, because we love to share. This hour went by much more quickly than I had anticipated. And with that, let's just carry on with other conversations. Yolanda, do you have a comment?
Yeah, before I forget, I am actually calling for a group that is a beginner level, but it's not full square. It's 2 couples. So do you guys have very basic, like Helen would use, and but 2 couples only, and 2 couple you can put in 4 couple material, so it's still usable. But
Oh yeah.
But narrow it down if you have any good flow stuff. Just putting it out there.
Well,
some of these were.
Most of, I know I came in late, but most of everything that was put in there, although it's been shown in waves, is 2 couple material. Left touch a quarter, walk and dodge, wheel around, reverse wheel around, what have you, is 2 couple material. You're just seeing it in waves. But you could put the same thing if you just changed your parameters there to facing couples in your starting formation. All of these modules would work as 2 couples.
Okay, good. Thank you.
All right.
I'm still thinking about the any hand wheel around. How about any wheel?
One of the reasons I kind of would like it to be a concept rather than a separate call is because I don't use it enough, and so I have troubles remembering, is it a wheel around or reverse wheel from what they just did? I haven't used it enough, so if it were a concept, that'd be easy. You're trying to make it a different name, but
I want it to be something that is that's easy and short to say, and that has enough, and that the words in it don't seem like they'll get confused with other words.
it is an obvious answer, Chris. It's a round wheel. Let me bring up a different.
Don, can I just make a point here?
Definitely, Helen.
Wheel around is used a lot in Sweden, and we're taught that if the left-hand dancer backs up and the right-hand dancer goes forward, except if flow gives you some, wants you to do something else. And we talk a lot about that. And I've been looking here in the definitions and I can't find it. I thought it would be in the definitions, but apparently that's something we've added on our own. But we talk a lot about that you have to follow the flow. Correct. When you do
it. Yeah,
Well,
no, there's no unless flow dictates otherwise. It always is wheel around is left side dancer backs up.
Right.
But in the States or in other places in Australia where you use it a lot, what do you do there? I mean,
it's exactly the same thing. If it's the left-hand dancer will back up on a wheel around with the centers, on a reverse wheel around, the right-hand dancer backs up. The flow to make sure that your body flow is correct is the callers have to use the material to ensure that they're actually giving the proper flow to the dancers. And it goes to what I was saying. I know in Sweden, in Germany when I was there, and that was a long time ago, but here in Australia, these movements are used a lot at basic through mainstream, and then they're carried on, and they're also used an awful lot at plus and advanced. You'll see wheel arounds and reverse wheel arounds in the advanced program a lot, which is why it doesn't seem, in places in the States I've called before, movements like box the net. Oh, well, it breaks the floor. Why? Well, because we don't use that. And that's where the problem is, because we don't use that is the problem. It's not the problem with the movement.
If I'd like to add something.
Go ahead, Mickey.
Hi. Yeah, it wasn't in the definition yet. It was in the higher level as a modifier, the reverse concept, and it has been added this year. The command reverse wheel around, even though we've been using it, but now reverse wheel around is in the definition of the basic or mainstream committee, right? And so this has been changed. And just to add with to talk with Chris about his concept type thing, there's a call called With the Flow. So maybe a thing would be called Wheel with the Flow or something like that. But that's just kidding, right?
Yeah.
Mickey, just to clarify, reverse was in the basic program as a modifier. It just was not explained. It was always able to be used because that was in the conventions that nobody ever read with the basic program. What they've added on was just clarifying that reverse wheel around. They defined it to go on with wheel around as naming the actual movement rather than just leaving it for callers to figure out on their own.
Now it
was always there. Right? Now it's just clarified.
I like this. I like the Swedish concept that you guys say, Helen. And the interesting part is whether you do a regular wheel around or a reverse wheel around, the ending formation is the same. The body flow is different, but the ending formation is the same. So if dancers do it incorrectly, they can get away with it. As long as both dancers in the couple do it that way. Helen,
but sometimes the reason why you have to. So first of all, here's what I'm taking away from this is that in Sweden maybe they're calling it wrong, but we like the idea of what they're calling. So maybe just need, and so again, and in the United States it just doesn't get called enough at all. And I think one of the reasons is because it doesn't have a good name. That's one of the reasons. So I want to give it a good name, but and reverse wheel around is like too long a thing to say. But but in terms of flow, you end up in the same place, but the flow at the end of the call is different. So if you wanted to, sort of to hark back to the joke that Mickey was just making on the with the flow. With the flow is walk and dodge in flow direction and then do something else. There's more to it after that. But but if you were to call, reverse wheel around with the flow, so it's going to be like boy walk, girl dodge, or girl walk, boy dodge, whichever the flow is dictating. If you're doing it, if you call the wheel around from a more static type of situation, you got to tell them which way to go. So we still need to be able to say wheel around in this direction, and we also need to be able to say wheel around in the other direction. But what I'd like is if we could say wheel around in the direction that feels good. That's what I'd like.
Yeah, which takes even longer to say than reverse wheel around.
Right.
On the other hand, you got to think about if we're taking the plus and you call the roll, now there is the difference then. Or if you do only half of it, like half of a wheel around or half reverse wheel around, then it is totally standing the opposite way around. So there is a distinction you have to make.
Can I just, before we leave the subject, ask them, in Sweden, we don't bother to tell them which way to go because they go with the flow. But if I'm to do it correctly, if I'm to call correctly with the definitions, I would have to say reverse wheel around when that was what I wanted them to do.
Yes.
I couldn't. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Correct.
That's exactly right. And I must express some glee that for a change, it's somebody in Europe that isn't calling it exactly according to the right language, instead of some American coming over there and calling it with our vernacular that isn't actually correct.
Helen, you may end up with the same problem that Lorena. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Lorena?
Yeah.
With the same problem that your dancers are going to say, well, obviously I'm supposed to go this way, so reverse is going to send me in the other direction and make it awkward.
I'm fascinated that you will set them up to reverse wheel around with the body flow, but and it might just be that we don't call it enough, but they hear that word reverse and they will go the opposite way to what feels good because they heard that word reverse.
Well, that sounds just like a wrong way grand. They seem to use the left hand or do something wrong, and I say, you don't have to do anything wrong if I say wrong way grand. It's just the other way.
You're just saying it because that's what the definition says, but
No,
the dancers don't have to, we've set them up to succeed.
You're absolutely right, Lorena, in that when they hear something odd or abstract, it causes a balk and says, oh, am I doing something wrong, for that initial hesitation? And that's no different than introducing a new call, having to workshop it or prompt it the first couple of times so that the dancers understand what's going on. And it's the same with wheel around and reverse wheel around.
I'm fascinated that we can call reverse wheel around 100 times and they'll get it wrong. But if you just called left touch a quarter, walk and dodge. No, sorry, the other way. Yeah, touch a quarter, walk and dodge, reverse wheel around. They won't do it. But if you, now I'm lost. Yeah, but if you just say wheel around, they will do it what feels comfortable, not what is correct. And it actually has a better success rate.
And Helen, what I was going to say to you was one of the key things, although you just call the wheel around and your flow, your dancers are going with the flow, and generally you'll probably set it up correctly to do the wheel around anyway. Once you start developing and you start calling elsewhere and start branching out, so that when you get to be the host feature caller at the U.S. National Convention and you call that, that's where you're going to have problems, because everybody else will be doing what they were taught by their callers. That's why it's supposed to be standardized across the board.
Yeah,
and don't laugh. It could happen.
It absolutely would happen.
That problem when I get there, I'll take that problem. Okay.
Yeah. That's a week Tuesday, by the way, and they'll see you there.
By the way, in the U.S., at least I use wheel around an awful lot. I said I didn't, but I only use it from promenade, heads wheel around or sides wheel around.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see if you're calling a promenade and say heads reverse wheel around. It only slightly awkward. It's sort of like a cast off 3/4 instead of a bend the line type of direction, but it would be interesting. So anything else on this point before I get on to my next question? This is... Go ahead, Steve.
I had a question earlier about just flow module, the flow module in general, but obviously we just got on this wheel around thing. But anyway, I posted a module in the chat a little while ago that I wanted to get people's opinions on because I can't figure out how to see the flow itself as far as in intamination to see exactly how this would work. You know, but I mean, the looks of it as far as if we can go back, I can give you the calls if we can look it up and let's see what you think.
Well,
Heads past the ocean.
Yeah.
Don, if you want to put your contaminations up.
Is it not up?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's heads past the ocean. Swing through. Extend. Split circulate. Hinge. Walk and dodge. Partner trade. Right and left through. Slide through. Box the net. Right and left grand. And then promenade home.
I saw how y'all were doing those, and all of a sudden I saw like the little squiggly lines. I couldn't figure out how you were doing that, so I could check myself. You know, that's why I see exactly how that worked out.
So let's, just for the heck of it, let's do a quick look on flow.
Okay. Now, Steve, to answer your question, those squiggly lines, if you just put your mouse on a dancer and click on it, it'll show you the traffic flow for that one dancer.
Gotcha.
And you've got to, if you don't unclick it, you're going to get a whole pile
Get
of
them
stuff.
all.
And I don't particularly, I haven't found it useful up until checking things afterwards. You know, you can have it going while they're dancing, but it gets kind of confusing. Let's have this. Well, let's first of all.
It's in the chat.
It's in chat already.
Yeah,
okay.
It's in chat.
Okay. Let's just dance it and watch what's going on. Where was? Oh, come on. Where was the question, Steve?
Well, I just want to know. I just want to know how I could. There we go. I just want to know the flow, whether the flow was okay. You know, what people's opinions were of the flow.
I'll give you mine. I thought it was a fine sequence, but I didn't see any combination of 2 or 3 calls that would make me go, wow, this is exceptionally cool. It
Gotcha.
just seemed kind of normal to me.
Okay.
Nothing bad, but nothing outstanding.
It looked like it flowed nicely, but yeah, there were no unique flow modules in there. Why is it only promenading to over here? I don't know. That's Tamination's problem.
I believe if you say promenade home instead of just promenade, it'll promenade to the man's home, generally.
I've erased it already. That's a good point. I'll have to do that next time. So I have a question that struck me the other day. Heads square through 4, touch a quarter. People have been debating back and forth for a long time whether walk and dodge partner trade is a problem, because this woman has to go over here and then come back. And of course they all dance it because they're used to it, and it's sort of like a round dancing rock over and back. But let's just watch this woman and see what we think. Walk and dodge and trade. Let me undo that and do a walk and dodge trade so we can see it happen smoothly. Watching her, and now she has, why did the trade not work? All right, let's, okay, So walk and dodge, trade. She goes over, comes back. So here's my question. Isn't the touch a quarter and then walk and dodge her going over and coming back? And the trade is just an additional part? Watch her now. Touch a quarter and come back and now go back again.
Very insightful.
Huh?
Yes, very insightful.
Nobody's ever commented about that part of it. Again,
the touch a quarter walk and dodge has a forward flowing action, whereas the walk and dodge has a side action forward. The other one's forward action slide. But it's not just walk and dodge. You've got that side action forward in a number of different things. Run, trade, run, cast off, run, wheel, you've got the same kind of action repeats itself. For some reason, somebody focused on walk and dodge partner trade has bad flow, which quite frankly, it doesn't, in my opinion. If you do a walk and dodge and you establish hand contact, you support each other for the partner trade and it flows very, very well. But that's an argument that's been going on since the 80s. I don't know why.
Well, I know it has, and I'm just trying to make it even worse by throwing in the other thing. I mean, look at her flow on this.
So Don,
let's see what this guy did. Yes, Clark.
If you have a moment and are willing to risk changing your screen, I put a link in the chat. It'd be like up 5 or 6 things. If you could click on that for a second. I don't know if that'll display your screen, but.
Oh, you want me to display my whole screen?
Well, I want you to display what's at that link.
That's the one by Lynn?
By Lynette.
Yeah. Lynette, sorry.
Oh, here's.
Yeah, her opinions, but her opinions on flow. And I think she actually talks about the sideways thing in it. And I think she has some good things to say. And if we're talking about flow modules, presumably call A to call B to call C has good or interesting or exceptional flow. And what is one person's opinion on what that kind of flow is? There you go.
Okay, I'm sharing my entire screen.
Yep. It's a little small, but we can see it. I can see it.
Well, I can make it bigger.
I'm going to make the chat go away and it's better. Yeah, I can read it. And I'm pretty blind, so there you go. So her talks on the point of rotation, just to get, where stuff's happening, I think is worth it. And then we go down to the rules. So the first one kind of prevents overflow. And even touch a quarter, split circulate, it kind of violates that a little bit because some people are still, the person looking out after the touch a quarter is still kind of rotating around their spot. The lateral motion I thought was interesting. The next call, she wants you to have to move in the opposite direction, which your touch a quarter walk and dodge partner trade thing does. Like we shouldn't keep moving sideways in the same direction.
There we go.
Getting all the stuff on the screen at once. Good.
I have a feeling I have got you guys here Zoom, but I think you don't see that. Am I correct? Or do you see?
No, depending on your setting, I have just your picture on the right and your screen on the majority of the left side of my screen.
Okay. And yeah, I have gallery view, but am I moving across the screen right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, you have the 4 rules and the bonus rule without us seeing the bonus rule at the bottom.
Yeah.
There you go. Oops, you almost had the whole thing. Stop. Yeah. Right there. There. Now you've got all 6 things.
Okay.
I think these are worth thinking about. She's
And
not wrong.
That link is in the
It's in the chat.
Good.
I see the web page, and I see a treehouse and something that is probably a cut and paste buffer of a sequence.
Correct. There is some junk on the right.
Oops.
But her rule number 2 is the one that says don't do walk and dodge partner trade, right?
No,
Yeah.
it says you should receive a call that moves in the direction opposite to the lateral motion. So if you
Oh, you
just dodge
should.
to
You-
the
oh.
right, she wants you to come back to the left.
Oh, you
Yeah.
should receive a call. I see.
It
Yeah.
does, yeah.
Sounds like a basketball turn on round dancing.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I'll go out on a limb here, but I'm going to say that if you ask any ballroom dance type person, instructor, if they think there's anything wrong with it, they're going to say, "Of course not. It seems perfectly fine."
Especially
Because
with
it is
hand
exactly
connection.
like what you're talking about in round dancing. And by the way, besides being one myself, I also did a survey of some more experienced ballroom dance instructors, and they all agree.
Well, guys, I hope you guys have found this an interesting topic, because you definitely
Yes.
have contributed a bunch, which was cool. Just making us think a bit and focus on different stuff. Again, I love to have guest callers in, but I ended up leading this one myself because I haven't done. Ooh, I've just got some sunshine on my face from the right side. We have a sunny day here. I'm just looking through my examples to see if there was anything else.
While you're looking, Steve, you know that module that you put up there? Instead of, you know, where you do the box, the right and left grand, which is fine. You can also do, if they're not comfortable with that, pass through Allemande left to the right and left grand will do it. Or if you want to just drop that to an 8-chain 4, that'll take you into the corner box at about 44 beats of music. Swing your corner and promenade. It's a nice singing call figure as
Oh,
well.
nice. Thank you. That's
And you can use it in your pad, or you can change the endings, and you can also use it in your singing calls without any modification to it all. It is a nice figure, but I agree with Clark. There's nothing wow. It's just good smooth
Right.
dancing, and quite frankly, that's
Right.
pretty good these days too. Just good
Yes.
comfortable
Yeah.
dancing.
Don, could you put that in termination, that sequence, so we can see it?
I'm sorry. What? Steve's.
Yes.
I should be able to do that. I just don't. I thought I had it in there already, but let's bring up terminations. Let's move you guys out.
With Mel's alternative.
Oh,
as
so
well.
that requires Mel dictating it to me.
Hang on a second. Maybe. Copy, paste. Can you allow me to share screen, Don? Just save you some time.
You think it's going to save time if I have to figure out how to do that?
Okay, well, I'll just dictate it then. His was heads past the ocean. Swing through.
You don't have to wait till it's done. You don't have to wait till it's,
yeah. I
can type while it's dancing.
Yeah. Split, circulate, hinge, walk and dodge, partner trade, right and left through, slide through, 8-chain 4, swing corner and promenade. It'll only do a short promenade because it's just under a quarter away, but that'll take you to 56, but it'll time out to 64 if you do a full promenade.
So you're saying we're facing,
Yeah, swing, corner, and promenade.
they're actually facing partners.
Partners.
Well, didn't I cough that up?
Whoops.
Thank you.
Pass through, take your corner promenade. Sorry. 8 chain, yeah, 8. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I stand corrected. You need the pass through in there to the corner.
You do a left 8 chain 5 and swing the corner.
There you go.
I feel that the side men are doing an awful lot of clockwise turning in that. They are doing some straight walks in between, but they are doing a lot of turns in the same direction. Like if we go back and watch it and you watch the number 4 man. Can we?
Yeah.
Click number 4 and hit play.
Oh yeah, make him a different color. Nice.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. The right and left through is going to be the first thing that gives them different flow.
Yeah, but look at him. He's just going around in circles.
That's the
No,
second right.
not
That's
until
the third
right there
and now
does
he's
he
left.
get to back up. Yep.
Yeah, but
And
what
he's
he does,
not.
he's got forward and 2 long looping flows with a right-hand turn followed by a left-hand turn. It's a long thing, but his first action is really straight. So it's although it's right and then down across a square right and then right again. So it's basically the same flow as if you had number 4 man promenade outside 3/4. That's his flow and then he comes down the middle and does it right and left through.
I want to point something out that may be obvious to people, but it wasn't to me. During one of my mental image classes, Julie Burr from Germany pointed out that when we were at a point where we could pass through to an Alaman left or pass through to swing your corner, we can do a wrong way grand. So anytime you're at a place where you can pass through to the corner, you can do a wrong way grand.
Oh, keeping in our veering theme, you could also veer left, veer right.
Yep. If the flow was right, I'd say after Nate chain through.
It's nice flow for one of the couples, and the other one it's neutral.
Yeah. So somebody said if I put promenade, it's not going to take me home. I have to write promenade.
No, yeah.
That's only if it was less than 1/4. Anyway. Interesting stuff, guys. Any other thoughts, comments, corrections, groans?
I had a comment on the 2 couple stuff.
Yeah.
I think for practicing sight calling and workshopping dancers, 2 couples is pretty powerful. You don't have as many if you're sight calling it, you don't have as many calls in your head to choose from. So, and you're not getting yourself into wild, gender, boy, girl, this and so forth. As long as you're calling symmetric 2 couple stuff, you're kind of stuck. You're either in facing couples back to back, a right-hand box, a left-hand box, or if you have diamonds, then you can get to diamonds. And they're just, you have to always, and the calls don't take that long generally. So you're always having to come up with that next call on the fly. And you can start paying attention to what can I do after I've done touch a quarter? And you begin to realize there's only 3 or 4 things and which ones flow. And then you start coming up with the right and left through, Dixie style to a wave, fan the top. And then you start wondering about using spread and some other calls. So I found that very, very fun and useful, even without music. If I'm just at a dance and we're off at a break over in the corner and I have four newer, plus dancers, I might just run them through a bunch of material and see if you can keep them moving continuously with good flow. It's you can and it you really aren't going to be calling stop and go. It's good. I think it's a worthwhile exercise and a fun thing to do. I think it's fun for the dancers and it's fun for the caller. Or be in the little group of 4 and do it yourself. Call from within the mini square and see if you can keep everyone moving and what feels good.
And if you do that while you're calling, you know, just concentrating on as if you were doing it to a small group, and you want to make it different for your dancers, at some point or another, just call and all circulate and get them doing the same thing with different people.
Right. Right. If you're doing that as a subset, if you have 8 dancers, but you're just focusing on 4. The other thing is if you're doing 4 and you want to resolve, it's as long as you remember one couple and where they started, it's easy to do the at-home resolves and end it. So you kind of throw the whole issue of calling, site calling and resolving out the window because the resolves become generally trivial, as long as you can manipulate dancers where you want them. So I think it's good practice to call 2 couple stuff to 2 couples.
It's a super awesome way to get really good at calling.
I have another flow sequence for you when you want. I need lines facing, however you want to get there, especially if it has a right and left through at the end, but like you wanted to last time.
Oh, yeah, just to get them in sequence. So there.
Okay. Sachet. Center's reverse sachet.
Will they do it?
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I'm just going to do and we know
Yeah.
the flow would have been better the other
Yeah.
way.
And then I would do a sachet. And center's reverse sachet.
See if
And
there's,
then I think you're right, there is no.
yeah.
And then finally a sachet. And what the dancers end up doing with their hands and how that feels, especially once they've done it once or twice. And in fact, that whole thing is a call.
It's a sideways it's a sideways.
As couples sachet, yeah.
No, I was thinking something else.
Ah.
Sideways hay.
Oh, a
I
sideways
learned-
hay, right, because it has an interesting weaving, who goes in front, who goes behind.
Yeah.
That feels pretty good. And then you end up, after you do it 5 times, you end up back in normal couples, and you're ready for, since you've just last done a half sachet, you're ready for a flutter wheel, a Dixie style, or whatever, a lady's chain. Yeah, we can't see the weaving action because we didn't have the reverse half sachets, but right. So it's an interesting flow, and it's unusual to the dancers because it's a lot of dancing sideways, but yet it doesn't feel awkward.
If they just did half sachets instead of reverse ones, and if there
I'm
wasn't,
not sure it would feel as good.
well, we could call it bounce the ball if you look at what's going on here.
Yeah.
We couldn't call it bounce. I think that's a call already, but
yeah.
I just thought it looked kind of interesting.
If I might interrupt there, I believe I learned that as a linear weave.
Yeah,
that
it's
really the
a linear
call, or-
weave the line, exactly.
Yeah.
But you don't need to give them the name. You could actually
course
call
not.
it out. Yeah,
I've
pieces.
called that at mainstream before, and it works. And on my terminations, I use reverse half sachet, center's reverse half sachet, and it works fine.
Oh, I bet that's what you didn't do, Don.
Okay.
Yeah, you tried it with shortcuts, I think.
Yeah.
So make a line. And then we did a half sachet.
Then center's reverse half sachet.
Oops.
There you go. See if it works.
Do you need the E on the end of reverse?
Right.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. I was just copying so I wouldn't have to type it again.
That way you could have it wrong both times.
Yeah. Let's see.
Is he going to take it?
Enter.
Okay, now let's enter it and see if it does it. Nice.
Yay. Good.
Yeah, and
And
then
now
a
we
half
did a half
sachet.
sachet.
Yeah.
And
Now
now
you
we
can
did a
copy.
Centers, reverse half sachet, and then half sachet.
It's a lovely move.
Yeah.
As long as you don't call it by its real name.
Now do it in the play mode so we see the
Yeah, I
full
will.
pattern.
I will.
Oh, good.
I was going to do one more thing, right and left through,
Oh, at the end. Yep.
and circle left.
Ah. More sideways motion.
Yeah, it was, but it
It
didn't
doesn't,
like that.
Contamination doesn't like circle left
Yeah.
from lines for some reason. I don't know why.
Anyway, let's. This is what we want to see is.
Oh, this is like, what is this alternating lefts 3/4 crazy sachet or something?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Watch it. Boink. Boink.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know it
That's
feels
fun.
good to dance. It feels good to dance. I know that.
Thank you, Gene.
Yeah,
And
you
I-
could also have the dancers just do it forward and back until they're to the same spot again as a gimmick.
Yeah, and I believe that in itself is used in the SSD program shortly
Except,
after half sachet as one of the dancing figures.
it did with it did half sachet as couples half sachet. Yeah, that's what it did. Is it got us out
Yep.
of sequence.
Hey, click on one dancer to show the path, just for grins.
Oh, that'd be cool. We'll go through. Oh, there we go.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, you got right. Yep. Yep. Interesting.
It's funny because normally you'd say, well, they're just hanging in there, but it turns out to be pretty darn interesting.
A comment that I wanted to make was addressing what Yolanda was saying about two-couple choreography, and it goes back. We did a couple sessions, and you've done one as well, I think, talking about the use of the Sicilian circle or a contra type line as a teaching tool, which I use all the time as a teaching tool. I love the Sicilian circle because most everything can be done, and it's two-couple choreography 99, well, not 99, but 83% of the time through mainstream is two-couple choreography. And as you use that, it's very easy to mix and match, mix your dances up, two couples, a ladies chain, pass through, move to the next. You've broken up the couple that's fighting when they got there. You've broken up the couple that's not dancing too well, and you can move them around. I've just put a little sequence in the chat, which is two-couple choreography. It's a little bit extended because it's using a zoom from a box column and stuff like that. But it just shows you that there's very, very little in the limitations of your two-couple choreography unless you're using something like spin chain through or Ferris wheel or that kind of stuff, which once you get working in a Sicilian circle, you can actually use those in a Sicilian circle as well. So there's not a lot of limitations. I strongly recommend you work your two-couple choreography with your program, but think about it as, if you remember those sessions we did on isolated site, head square through, dance the two couples, then finish your routine. That's starting the site. The same principle applies. And you can expand your two-couple choreography a lot of, great stuff in there.
Why am
So
I
you're
thinking?
nodding your head, Clark. Sicilian circle. Yeah. Contra lines. Yeah. Fantastic teaching tools.
What am I trying to do here?
I've taken to using Sicilian circles at beginner classes sometimes when they don't have the right number of people to make even squares, or when they don't have them quite yet, but there's people who are showing up late.
Yeah. What I found, when I was calling in Canada, 4 of the 5 nights I was calling, I would start every dance in a Sicilian circle. And that was because everybody could get up, I could get them dancing, and invariably you were going to have 5 or 6 couples come in late in a hodgepodge. I could do the first 20 minutes, no singing calls, but just the first 20 minutes, review everything, dance the Sicilian circle, get everybody meeting and greeting, mixing and matching while dancing and reviewing. And the beauty of it is you get a couple come in, they don't have to have a partner. They can just stand in the circle, pick a direction. Somebody will come to them because all you do is call pastor and they're in it. Just train your dancer circle and they just go. You have one couple standing, you know, four movements and you move to the next, they're involved.
There's a nice presentation on it on one of the Caller Lab CDs from about 8 or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that like Sicilian circles. If Daryl Clendenin were here, he'd speak up and say yes, yes, yes. I don't use them. And my reasons are probably outweighed by yours, and I should. But I like to get them into squares early and just get them used to square dancing because it's a square and I want them to get that square experience. I don't want to take half the night teaching before having to go into squares.
I never used to use them at all, but the way I've always done my like party nights and first class nights and things is the way that it was shown to me when I learned, which was you have the whole floor starting out in one big giant circle, and you do Alaman left and do-si-do and circle, and then I get them into 4-person setups. What I do is after I show them how to promenade, I show them, you know, single file promenade, and then I have the boys get in there, everybody promenade. So I'm doing it that way, and then I have them promenade all over the place, go find another couple and, you know, make a 4-person mini square, and then look, all those things you did, circle left, circle right, promenades, they work. Okay, promenade all over the place. Go find yourself another group of 4 people, but now, you know, now you have 8 and we're making squares and blah, blah. And all those calls that you learned so far, they all work just the same way. Here's your home position, blah, blah. But but with the Sicilian circle thing, I can do something very similar to that, only I can go a little further before I get them into squares. And mainly it's the trick of being able to accommodate not the right number of couples. That was the thing that tilted me towards deciding it was a useful thing.
Chris, I do a lot of what you do at a party night in class 1 is scatter promenade another couple, do some stuff with them, scatter another, and then your group of 4 find another group of 4, and you do people left over, sorry, you got to go home. And then I'll occasionally use Sicilian circles as a, hey guys, we know all these calls, we can do them in the Sicilian circle too, also, and I just use it as a variety kind of thing. But as I say, I think there are probably advantages to doing it the way I don't.
Yeah, well, for me, it was just you know, for decades, I never did it. And then just in the last, I don't know, like 5 years or something, I started doing it just because of the just because it's an very easy way to deal with the leftover couple.
Yeah, well, maybe not the leftover couple, but the leftover 2 couples.
Yeah. Well, if it's a leftover couple, then they have to wait.
That's why I go into 6 couple dancing.
Yeah.
6 and 4, the way I do it, where you can do it with the 4 or 6 or 8 can all do it the same stuff. But fun. Any other thoughts, comments, complaints, cups of coffee? Did I remind you of drinking your tea, Clark? Huh? Not coffee, Clark. Knowing Clark, he generally doesn't drink his Mountain Dew out of a mug.
Yeah.
As soon as you end, I will be off to Taco Bell and I will have Mountain Dew with my lunch. That's my reward for surviving till 1 p.m.
I've been trying to do more water. Right out of the tap. Good stuff.
The sun you see on my picture is the same sun you're seeing on Don. We have a nice day today.
Yeah. I, in fact, checked beforehand. Is that Smirnoff? I checked before. It was 42 degrees Fahrenheit. It was either 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. Because we have some people that use a more standard system than the one we do here in the States. It's still cold. With that, guys, if you're in the U.S., have a happy Thanksgiving. If you're not, have a happy week off. Mel, what have you got going tonight?
I was asked a question about, a new caller was being taught by a journeyman caller, and he was taught this new resolution technique called the Zoom resolution technique. Trying to explain exactly what it was got him thoroughly confused. So I figured I would dispel the myth and clear the waters on what a Zoom resolution technique is, as opposed to what a Zoom as a partner pairing method in a resolution technique is. So that's what we're talking about tonight.
So what is it? You just keep calling Zoom until they get all mixed up, and then
pretty
and
much
just go home.
No, well, yeah, well, it is a Zoom session, so I suppose it's appropriate. So I had to do it.
I was surprised nobody brought up the flow module of Zoom and resume, but
for those of you that did the SSD, that I put the SSD version of that, which is slightly different, that half sachet, because it doesn't use the reverse sachet. What it does is the boys sachet, girl sachet, everybody sachet version. But it's very similar to that. It's just a tamed down version of it.
I'm still surprised that when I call Zoom, the dancers don't yell out, "You're muted."
Well, maybe because they use WebEx.
You're lucky you have dancers.
Again, our lip reading session will start in 30 minutes. For those that can see and can't hear, and then for Chris, those that can hear and can't see, we will start a mental image system after that. Still thinking about one for Saturday, Steve.
I was just going to ask you, are you going to be doing another session, Don? A couple of people were asking about it.
Yes. I just this Wednesday finished my 5th group and want to start another one. Want to start 2 actually, and I've been having troubles getting myself to write out the invitations and figuring out where to put them. I have a list of people that will get direct mail. So if people that are interested, Mel, have them.
I'll just pass them your email address. They can contact you directly.
Email address. The one that I'm thinking, I've had several very experienced callers wanting to add this to their toolbox. And so I plan to send them a separate letter. We'll go at a different speed. I won't have to teach them what a forward and back looks like. But I'll call their bluff because most of them won't be able to won't want to take this. They just paid lip service saying, yeah, I'd be interested in doing it. And then just a general open one too.
Well, there was a number of people asking about, we had, I know you were talking with Dave Prescott, and we had Dave on for three-part session. I'm probably going to be doing another one, just talking about that approach. And they're talking about how the two approaches complement each other. There are minor variances, but it's essentially the same way of looking, just coming at a different angle. And a lot of people asked about it, so I just passing on your information.
And there are, just not to advertise too much, but there have been quite a few people that have had the book and read the book and got only so far, which which bothers me that the book was supposed to be easy to follow.
4 times.
Oh,
the book is easy to follow. The problem is it's hard to let go and not jump ahead with what you can see happening. And once you start jumping ahead, you lose the plot.
But by doing it step by step or half step by half step on terminations each week, people are forced to, I won't let you look ahead. and people have said, oh, now it makes sense. So
yeah, and probably looking ahead was the wrong way. It's setting aside the preconceptions of what I know to understand what this is trying to be taught.
I've really enjoyed, especially this past class. There were 2 people in it that were really, 5-year callers or something like that, and all of a sudden saying, "Ooh, I'm starting a new basics or an SSD group, and this fits right in, and it just adds variety." And then I had feedback from one guy who's really sharp choreographically, what have you, but and I think sight calls, but he said, I use mental image now to get him into a trade buy setup for an Owlman left instead of just an 8-chain through setup, and made them aware of that kind of stuff. So it's, and I've had a blast sharing this stuff, obviously. So yes, if anybody's interested, drop me an email. It will.
Don Beck at donbeck.org.
Don Beck at donbeck.org. It depends on, my preference.
I don't know why that's in my memory, but it's there. I've typed it out so many times.
My first choice of time is the same time as this on a Wednesday morning. My second choice is the same time as this on a Thursday morning. My next 3 choices are 3 hours earlier, Wednesday, Thursday, or Saturday. I might be doing a Saturday 8 a.m. Eastern, if that's when most people can make it. I think the West Coast people can't, but Steve, you're in Eastern time zone, right? If it works out that way, I have done an 8 o'clock session, 8 Eastern time, for Japanese and Australian people, so they don't have to stay up so late.
Only 5 in the morning now, Don.
Yeah, and it means I have to set an alarm, but
Just going to say on that note, it is 5 o'clock here and I think I'm ready for bed. So I'm going to say ta-ta. Thank you for a lovely session and very interesting.
Why don't we all ta-ta?
I'll see some of you at 9.
Yeah.
See you at 9, Mel.
9 my time.
Yeah.
Your time.
9.
Yeah.
4
Thanks
hours.
for coming, guys. We will see you in 2 weeks and maybe in 4 hours.
There you go.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Stay safe.
Yes.